Hey, Disney cruisers, and welcome back to the DCL community where we are here to plan, prepare for, and get excited for your Disney cruise. You guys know me, I'm Rebecca, your host and admin of the DCL community. And today we're talking about a different type of Disney vacation because if you don't know, Disney doesn't just have the parks and not just the cruise line, but you can actually go all around the world with Disney, including on different types of vessels. So that's what we're talking all about today is river cruises. And I mean, if your kids would even enjoy one. So as you're coming in, please say hello. Let us know where you're watching from so that we can say hi. And Stacey, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Stacey Johnston from Marvelous Mouse Travels. I've been a travel agent for over 5 years now. And Marvelous Mouse Travels, we have 300 agents. We're an earmarked platinum agency, so we get extra special service and support from Disney. But what we especially like is the fact that we all have our kind of our specialties, so to speak. So I'm one of their Disney Cruise Line top sellers, which is amazing. I'm platinum. I've been on every cruise ship, and so you gain my personal experience in helping to plan your vacation. And I also give a little extra perks, sometimes some free upgrades for onboard credit. So we work together on meeting your vacation needs and having that concierge travel planning experience.
Well, I love that. Yes. And if you are out there right now and you're like, man, that sounds awesome. Is it too good to be true? It's not. Stacy is here to help. She has so much experience sailing and traveling around the world, whether you're going to Singapore or the Bahamas or anywhere in between. And her planning services are actually free for you to utilize. So the link to her page on the DCL community site is scrolling along the bottom. Reach out and let her help. But let's go ahead and dive into all things river cruises and kind of, I guess, where to start. Right, the first thing that people think of is where are we actually staying? So what are the differences in these ships? And we could start with the staterooms.
Sure. So with an Adventures by Disney river cruise, the Adventures by Disney doesn't actually own and operate the river cruise ships. It's actually a partner through AMA Waterways. AMA Waterways is considered one of the top tier, the luxury end of the river cruising industry. So you're getting that high-end luxury experience. A river cruise ship is much smaller, so typically houses up to 192 guests. On our particular voyage, we had 154 Adventure by Disney guests, and we had 35 kiddos. So it was a very intimate experience. In fact, this was the largest number of kiddos AMA Waterways this particular crew had seen in a very long time. And so the AMA crew, they really liked it because typically a non-Adventure by Disney AMA Waterways cruise would be, maybe a family here and there, but really to have these kids and these activities and this interaction with all these families and little ones, the staff, they loved it, and they were playing games with us, and so that was a lot of fun. I think that the fact that the staff really did enjoy seeing families, this more family experience on a river cruise, which was really cool.
Yes. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. And somebody's asking, Jacqueline's asking, how old do you have to be to go on? Is it 6 months?
So AMA Waterways, if you were to book outside of Adventures by Disney, is going to be 4 years on and up. We usually recommend a little bit older. With Adventures by Disney, each Adventures has its own minimum age requirement. They have a minimum age and a recommended age. And so you'll want to work with a travel agent experienced with Adventures by Disney because each of these is a little bit different. We did have some younger ones on our cruise. I say the youngest was about 6. So we saw 6 to 12. So the junior adventures go all the way up through 12, which I did not actually fully realize until going on this particular cruise, because we've done Adventures by Disney before, but some of the kids' experiences where it's a smaller, the land portions are a little bit more smaller. So they really called out, like, the junior adventurers are doing this tonight, and we're doing this, and we're doing this excursion. So Nick got to participate in all the junior adventure stuff because he's 12. And so I was really glad that we did it this particular summer instead of next summer, because he would he loves to go above and beyond, and he really loves his oceaneer club experiences. So I think he would have missed out being 13 and not having that experience in the junior adventure series, so to speak. And so you just work with a travel agent that has experience with Adventures by Disney to discuss whether your little one, this is appropriate for you or not.
Yeah, oh, that's such a good point. Every family is so different. I know there are so many families these days that they love Disney cruises. They love the experience of the Disney level service and the attention to detail. But they're like, okay, we've seen the Bahamas, we've seen Cozumel, what else is there? And you want to get to know these locations. And the Adventures by Disney answers that call. So I love that they have some child programming, but then they also have all these experiences that you can do as a family. Incredible. Okay, sorry. Back to stateroom comparisons. I know I derailed us a little bit there.
They're spacious. I'd say if you are in the size of the deluxe family veranda, think of it that. Now, we did have the stateroom that was kind of their top deck. So deck 3 is their top deck. So we did have the kind of the larger, veranda room, but we always get the larger veranda rooms with Disney Cruise Line. So they start in kind of a window experience, which is their higher windows. They're not like the big porthole windows. So your deck 1 is going to be, the windows are going to be kind of just above eye level, but it lets light in. Those will typically house 2 people. And then if you want to do 3 or 4 people, you're going to have to go up to that higher level, which is going to be your verandas, and you'll be more likely on deck 3. Deck 2 is going to be kind of your regular size verandas. And so if you're a party of 5, you'll probably have to book a stateroom for 3 and a stateroom of 2, which is what we did, again, being a family of 5. So we ended up staying in kind of a deck 3, then the higher level veranda, and there aren't connecting staterooms. So we were actually across the hallway from each other. At first, when I got on board, I thought I was a little disappointed, thinking, I want to be right next door. But what I liked was we each had a veranda. So depending on where you were docked, we may get the better view, but the next time the girls may have had the better view. So we could go and sit on their veranda, their balcony for that experience. So the size of the rooms, I think, were similar. They're both spacious. So again, thinking of that deluxe family ocean view veranda in DCL, I think of that size. Those are a little bit more long. So if you think of a larger cruise stateroom, it's kind of lengthwise. You do have the split bathroom, which is really nice. Again, not really seen that other places. So that is definitely a Disney Cruise Line specialty, and just really like that. But the bathroom, our actual bathroom, was bigger than either of those 2 sections of the split bathroom on our Amma Waterways cruise. So we had a big bathroom, which was really nice. And then, and the Nick was on a sleeper sofa. So it was like a single pull-out chair that pulled out into a sleeper sofa. So that's where he slept. And they do it where you can do, 2 twins separated or combined, which is nice. Again, with our girls, they did the 2 twins, and then we pushed them we had them pushed together for that king size bed. So that was really great.
Oh, I love that there's options with customizing it. And I know there are lots of families who want to do bigger family trips, and lots of families of 5 these days. And knowing how to configure, whether you're doing a Disney cruise or Adventures by Disney, there's different ways to work it. And I would say definitely, if you are a family of 5, Stacy has all of the tips on how to choose the best stateroom configurations, because one stateroom might not always be the best option. Okay, so it looks like overall your girls preferred the ABD rooms.
Yeah, and I think because of the ability to split out the bed into 2 separate, so they're 22. They turned 22 on the cruise, so that was a lot of fun. But so them each having their own bed, because right now on a Disney Cruise Line, when they have their own room, one person gets the queen size bed, and then one person has to sleep on the couch, which isn't as fair. And it's usually one girl that always wins out. We're not going to name any names, but this way it felt kind of nice and fair. They really liked the larger bathroom. And, the configuration of the room feels a little bit larger because it's more of a square instead of it being a little bit longer. So it felt a little bit larger, so to speak, but so the girls, I'd say, would give that over to ABD and Amma Waterways. Nick, of course, preferred DCL, just the fun theming. And then, each room on the headboard, you have your theme. He loves the bunk, so still sleeps in the bunk. And so his preference of the stateroom was still for Disney Cruise Line.
Got it. Okay, that seems totally fair. I feel like Nick is the ambassador for Disney Cruise Line of all the 12-year-olds in the world, and I love it.
Yeah.
And curious from your point of view, I know we're talking a lot about the kids' takeaways, but what would you and your husband say your preference would potentially be? Or do you even have one?
Yeah, we just asked my husband right before this, and he said, honestly, I could go either way. I thought they were both great, and I was the same way. I could go with either. One thing about a river cruise is when you dock, sometimes you dock next to another river cruise ship. And so your balcony for that day might be someone else's balcony. And so that's just something to take into consideration. But from the room size and the room configuration, we both really like them both.
Okay, love it. And what about the food? I know I've already seen multiple questions about, is there room service? Is breakfast included? Where was the question? Somebody asked about, are they good with allergies? So let's talk about all things food on board both of them.
So there is, all the food is included. So a river cruise in general is more all-inclusive than an ocean cruise. And so they are great with food allergies. So my daughter is vegan. So we often put down a milk and egg allergy because not everyone truly understands what a vegan is. So they will give us like a vegetarian meal with like a cheese pizza. And I'm like, no, that's not it, so we usually do the dairy allergy menu and the egg free menu, and then that usually gets her vegan needs. So the chef came out and met with Brooke every single night to take her order before they took anyone else's order, and then they made special tofu scrambles for her in the morning. And so definitely great with food allergies. 100%. Disney Cruise Line is great with food allergies too. So it's not to say one is different or another. I think Brooke might have preferred the food on Amma Waterways. Taylor preferred the food on DCL. Nick preferred the food on DCL. But so the breakfast is a little bit different. At DCL, you have the cabanas buffet, or you have to sit down. Nick loves a good buffet. I mean, he was really disappointed that the first day lunch wasn't a cabana, like a buffet at cabanas. And I'm like, no, it's a little bit different. It was more like snacks in the afternoon. And then in the evenings, it's a sit down meal. What's nice is there's a specialty restaurant called the Chef's Table, which is like a tasting menu where they bring out small samples of meals. It's like 6 or 7 courses, something along those lines. And so that's included. So that's 100% free. You just need to sign up. So we ended up doing that. And my husband also celebrated his birthday on the cruise. So we did that on the night of his birthday, was the Chef's Table. And so great with food allergies. The breakfast it's kind of a smaller buffet than what you would see on like a typical ocean liner cruise, but it's a buffet with a menu. So you can order off the menu and you can eat off the buffet. So lunch is a little bit like that, less buffet. There are some buffet kind of cheese snacks type of things, like appetizer, olives and cheese and crackers. And then you order off the menu, and then dinner is purely off the menu. One thing about that is wine and beer, sparkling wine are included with lunch and dinner, and then sparkling wine is included with breakfast. So if you want a mimosa, you just let them know and they'll bring you a mimosa. So that's really nice. So that's why I'm saying it's kind of more of an all-inclusive experience, because your drinks are included, and they have a sommelier that basically is on the ship. and we'll talk to you about the pairings of the evening and why they chose this particular selected wine, and
Oh,
what it goes with and what your options are. And they usually try to bring wines from the region. So they try to bring in a cultural regional experience. So when we were in Vienna, the menu for dinner was a Viennese menu. So we had lots of Wiener Schnitzel was on the menu, and then they had a kind of a turkey schnitzel because I don't eat red meat, and so that was kind of fun. So I got to experience. So each night there was a special kind of menu geared towards that region. So if you aren't super exotic in your flavors, or you're not necessarily wanting to try some of the regional specialities, you may not like the river cruise menu as much. I mean, then they always had a steak every night, some baked chicken every night,
nice.
and some baked salmon every night. So like that was their everyday menu for dinner that you could order off of. It was like mashed potatoes, so you could order those. And then, so I think in general, the rest of the family preferred Disney. We just love, we love the animator's palette, the, black truffle,
Same.
per sets, those things. So but I did enjoy the seasonal flair of the AMA waterways. Now, again, as I mentioned, Adventures by Disney partners with AMA waterways. So the food and the room and the captain and the room steward, those are all AMA components. The excursions, the onboard activities is all the Adventures by Disney component. So, Adventures by Disney isn't like selecting the menu. AMA Waterways is saying, this is our Danube menu, if that makes sense.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So much more regional. And what about the unlimited ice cream? I see that question here from Lucas. Is there unlimited ice cream?
So they have kind of snacks at night where they will do like an ice cream. So one day they did an ice cream sundae bar, and you could go in through, and of course they had the pistachio ice cream because that was Mozart's favorite apparently. So he loved pistachios apparently. So they had like a sundae bar, and then the next night they had cake. And so at night they had these, kind of a dessert experience, but it's not like an ice cream machine where you go and get unlimited ice cream.
Got it. Okay, good to know. So overall, it seems like
always had ice cream for dinner. So that's what we usually ate every night, was an ice cream sundae.
love that. I mean, you can't get much better than ice cream every day.
I know.
And the chef's table experience, somebody asked, what were the options? Were they much more elevated? Would you do it again? And it sounds like you would.
Yeah, that was my favorite meal of them. Yes, it was. So it's like I don't know if you've ever been to like a tasting menu. It's like the main course was like this beef, but since I don't eat beef, they gave me some chicken. And then prior to that was they started off with like a prosecco with a cherry in it, and then there was like kind of almost like a charcuterie board type of approach. And then, so some cheese and some hummus and some olives was next. And then then one of the sections is like a sorbet to cleanse your palate before your main meal. And then the dessert was kind of more like a mousse type of thing. So it's a more elevated dining experience. So kind of think of it as like your palo, but you don't order the menu. The chef makes the menu each night as like its own special menu.
Oh, that is so cool. I love that. Those little elevated experiences, to Amy's point. Yes, it is elevated. And yeah, I like comparing it to those adult only dining experiences on board.
And don't forget included. So it is 100% free. So you just have to choose. I recommend signing up the first night on the cruise, just so you get the date, that you want, especially if you're celebrating something special like my husband's birthday.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Great advice. And what about these onboard activities?
Yeah. So the onboard activities, it's pretty, then a river cruise is pretty excursion heavy. And so you're gone definitely in the morning. And then usually there's a second excursion in the afternoon. So then you come back, dinner's typically around 5:30, 6:30, 7, somewhere around there. And they have a set dinner time. And that's based off of what you're doing. So one night we had a Mozart concert in Vienna. So we had an early dinner. And so, but because the concert was so late, the onboard experience, the onboard activity, each night there's like what they call the welcome reception. And so it's like a cocktail hour. So there's a drink of the day, there's a non-alcoholic and an alcoholic drink of the day. Now, if you ask for something that's not the drink of the day, so what I ended up doing was the margarita night was awesome. So the margaritas were really good, but like there was a gin and tonic night. I'm not a huge gin and tonic person. So, but they had a non-alcoholic like fruit punch. And so I ended up asking for them to put vodka in that. And it was like delicious. So they did that without me having to pay for that. So, so that, they're really willing to work with you. So each night there's an activity. So you've got your kind of your welcome reception, your cocktail hour, and then there's an activity. So it might be, and that's in the lounge. So there's one kind of central lounge space. One night it was karaoke. One night it was Adventures by Disney was celebrating 20th birthday. So they had a birthday party that we all participated in. It was a lot of games. So, and each of the adventure guides made their own recommendation of a game. So they got to pick what the game was. So one was Twister. My son had never played Twister. I guess I just never realized we hadn't ever played Twister together. But one of the local guides that was from near Vienna, actually lives in Vienna right now. His party game is he wrapped a large piece of chocolate, of Austrian chocolate, in wrapping paper, and with gardening gloves, like thick leather gardening gloves or workman's gloves. You had to open it up with a fork and knife. Like you couldn't touch the paper and you had to keep the gloves on. And then we were rolling a dice of 6. And so we were rolling a dice. If it landed on 6, you got to take over the gloves. And then you start cutting frantically because you're trying to open it up. And the goal is to eat the most chocolate, right?
Oh, so fun.
Yeah. And so I was doing it and Nick was doing it. And then, and I kept rolling a 6, but honestly, by the time I got the gloves on, someone else had rolled 6. So I rolled 6 the most. And so finally it was open and I rolled 6 and I cut it up enough for everyone to like have a piece of the chocolate. So that was fun.
Awesome.
Yeah. So they have like each night kind of an onboard experience for like an hour, but it's not like going to a kids club and where, Nick was shutting down the edge every single night, so he, after the Broadway show or whatever we were doing as a family, he would go to the edge from typically, 9:00 until he would shut it down at midnight. And so that was a little bit different for him. And I think the first couple of nights, he's like, I don't like this as much as Disney, cruise line, because I don't have the kids club. But what the difference is, and I'll talk about this in a minute, is it's so intimate. And so I'd say halfway through, he knew most of the kids. So by night 3 or 4, he didn't need the kids club. He had the buddies to like go and, sit upstairs in the top deck, the sun deck, or to go and sit in the lounge and play some board games. And so it was kind of like self-created that edge-like experience. But it, so if your kids are like, I have to do the kids club, I, just want to make sure, they don't really have a kids club. They have planned activities.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. I love that he was able to make friends. And I know a lot of people will be worried, oh, if there's not as many activities, am I going to be bored? But it seems like there's plenty of options of things to do. And I'm sure there were days when, after multiple excursions, you were probably pooped and just wanted to relax.
Yeah, I definitely say we go to bed earlier than we do, on the Disney Cruise Line. One, because the excursions sometimes start a little earlier, and 2, because I'm pooped, like you said, so Nick would normally shut it down by midnight. He was going to bed like around 11. So, I mean, not much earlier, but, because some of the evening activities would wrap up around 11.
Okay, good to know. Also, I love that him and Minnie have matching hats.
I know and I'll explain about the mini in a minute. So one thing else about the activities in the evening is Nick sang karaoke, and he would never do it on the Disney Cruise Line. And I think because it's so big, so many people, that he's like, no, I don't need to, but because this was more intimate and he knew the people and he knew the adventure side, he was like number 3 in singing, and he sang Don't Stop Believing. I mean, I'm telling you, it was like a party, and the adventure guide was like dancing, and like they were like loving it, and they're like, great job, Nick. And like, oh, that's the other thing, and we'll talk more about the adventures guide in a minute, but they knew all of our names by day 2. And so so they definitely knew Nick, kind of took him under their wing. And so he came out of a shell a little bit more because of it being a more intimate crowd and doing some of the things that, not everyone would sing for karaoke, but he did on this cruise.
I love that. And we have some people saying that is their go-to karaoke song. So I love to see it. It's such a good one. Such a good one. I'm so glad that he had options and that you were all able to enjoy, again, that family time. And I know we've mentioned excursions. So far, everything on board the ship, outside of potentially some other alcoholic beverages, is included.
Yes.
What about the excursions? Are the excursions included?
100% included. So all of the excursions are included. And so the excursions are what made this trip. And so when you go on an excursion, let's keep it to Europe. It's usually a little bit larger crowd. And like here in the picture on the bottom is us visiting a castle in Germany. And it was kind of like you broke up into 2 groups of 20. There were 40 of us there, and you're kind of walking through the castle. And then you get we had 40 minutes in the town. So it kind of felt rushed and but they plan everything out down to, so when we went to Passau, Germany, we started in the kind of the candy factory, and we made candy pigs. Literally, they gave us gloves to make our own candy pig that we took home. 3 of 4 made it. One did not. One did not journey home, but that's okay. And so you made the pigs, and then so you learned about the candy making experience there in Germany, and then our tour guide picked us up in full garb of the Passau of 1770s, around there, and he kept picking on Tim because Tim is kind of tall and he's got a little bit of a belly, and he kept saying, "It looks like you haven't missed a meal, so you must be our governor," because and so he basically made him the governor of that area, and then he called Nick the Prince. And so it was like very interactive. And he said, "Come here, Prince, and you tell me, how you should be ruling it." And he said, "Oh, well, that's interesting, because that prince ended up being, dying at a young age, and so it's kind of so it's this really interactive history experience. And so I think the tour guides were amazing. They made it interesting for kids. Another place we did a art kind of like scavenger hunt, and the tour guide was hilarious. So it was keeping kids engaged. And a couple of other excursions, like one in Vienna, we went through the main palace. They took the junior adventurers and did an outdoor maze, and so they taught about the palace also, but it was really trying to relate to kids. And then at the end of the palace experience, we did a marionette show, so where we got to learn more about marionettes. We saw the show, and then they let us all hold and do the marionettes on our own. So cool. Very immersive, very hands-on. We did cooking. We went to an apricot farm where we picked the apricots, and then we learned how to pick the apricots. We learned how to make the wine. We learned how to make apricot jelly. Another excursion, Nick happened to be the only junior one on this one, so he got pulled to come up and help make apple strudel. And actually, it was in Vienna also. So that he helped make the apple strudel. So I have a picture of him with a cape and a chef's hat on, and he got a little junior cooking badge as well too.
Cute.
It was like so hands down. The Adventures by Disney excursions, just you cannot beat them. I mean, they're just meant to be explored in that manner.
Yeah, I love that they plan everything for you. So it's not like we love Disney Cruise Line, but it's not like you're having to wake up. And I know you take care of it for your clients of being able to, book some of these experiences ahead of time. But just being able to go and say, okay, this is what we're doing today, and you can be as involved as you want.
Right.
I love that. Oh my gosh, what a great way to get to know places. And
I forgot to tell you, they give you options A or B, sometimes options A or B and C. So they'll give you kind of a pre-guide of like, do you want to go to the salt mine or do you want to go see the Sound of Music monastery? So you get to pick and choose which one you want to do. Do you want to go see the palace, or do you want to go see a Mozart concert or another type of another evening activity? So you get to pick and choose. Now you pre-arrange before you show up. But they also give you on that first night, if you decide you want to do something different, they give you the ability to make changes that first night. But once that first night is over, then you're kind of locked into your choice.
Got it. Okay, good to know. I love that we have options here. And what about, I know you've mentioned the adventure guides a couple of times. How does that compare to the crew on board a Disney cruise ship? Are they just as wonderful?
So they're wonderful with an extra element. And so these are handpicked. And so there are typically 4,000 people that apply for 4,000 Americans that apply for the American version of the adventure guides per year. And they take about 15. So these are literally like the cream of the crop. So, and if you see, we've got Jana there. She worked at Walt Disney World, and that she's in the front right there. And then Rebecca's in the blue shirt in the back. She came from Disney Cruise Line. And then Gabby over there, she came from one of the Disney parks. I can't remember exactly which one, but they are handpicked to become the adventure guides. The American adventure guides kind of get rotated throughout the different experiences. Like they could go to, like one's going to Egypt soon. So they rotate through. The others are locale, their locales are based off of where they live. And so they are experts, and they are also handpicked in that region. So George he's way in the back with the Helly Hansen shirt on. He was from Budapest. So he was like our Budapest expert. And then Winston is he's in the middle there. He was from Germany, and then Joshua on the right there. He was representing Austria. So each of the countries had a guide that is an expert in that region. So when you're coupled with them, they'll tell you about their own personal experiences of growing up there and what they used to eat. And so you also get your own free time, and the guides will say, go eat here, go eat here. And we said, okay, well, here's our deal. Nick's super picky. We have a vegan, and now we've got another family we were going out to eat with. And so now we've got, a party of 10. And I'm like, where can this, which restaurant can fit us? And the guide was like, okay, here's where you're going to go. You're going to go here. It's just down the stairs. Like, it was amazing. So he knew where to send us. Yeah.
Gosh, it's like your own private trip advisor in the location. That is awesome. And we know the Disney Cruise Line crew is absolutely amazing, but having someone who knows that location is just priceless. Oh my gosh. Okay. Love that. And you said that they were great with the kids too.
Yes. Oh man. And because they're basically from the Disney Cruise Line mentality of that and the one that is from Disney Cruise Line is from the Oceaneer Lab. So that's who they recruit. It typically tends to be those that are in the entertainment team. And so they're bubbly, energetic, a lot of fun, and they're great with kids. And so that because they bring them on to host these children's activities and to keep these, these are long tours, to keep these long tours engaging and exciting and entertaining for kids. Oh, I forgot to talk about one was the Austrian dancing. I don't think I've laughed that much in the longest time, because it was like a couples dance. And so I didn't let none of the kids wanted to do it first. So finally I was like, Nick, come and dance with me. But then it got to be a little bit more couplish. So I was like, okay, I'll go dance with your dad. And then Brooke and Nick ended up dancing, but we were laughing so hard. And so again, it's this immersive hands-on experience that it's not like any other excursions that I've been on. And that was definitely, I think, the Adventures Guide and the Excursions, and the fact that they were participating in all these excursions and making it fun for us just was so much fun. And they take pictures. So the whole time they're your personal paparazzi. They're taking your pictures, and then they upload to an album that you can then download all the photos after the end of your trip. So you don't have to worry about, I forgot to take pictures of this excursion. I was too busy doing something. So it's really nice having your personal paparazzi.
Yes. Oh my gosh. The adventure guides and excursions alone seem like good enough reasons to go on Adventures by Disney. Oh my gosh, that glass of bubbles just seems perfect. So let's talk a little bit more about the all-inclusive nature of Adventures by Disney compared to, some people think Disney Cruise Line is all-inclusive, and it's pretty inclusive. But
there's a lot included, but you still have to pay for your tips, so your gratuities. You have to pay for your excursions. You have to pay for any specialty drinks. And so that's all included. Now, with the Adventures by Disney, if you want to order a cocktail during the non cocktail hour, it is an extra. But I ordered a drink and my husband ordered a drink. It was $10 total. And I was like, whoa, I'm like, they might've done this wrong, but that's what it was. And so, so for two, cocktails, it was $10. So they definitely are not making money on their cocktails. I think because the intention is they really do want it to be all inclusive. So your tips are included. That's for all 6 adventure guides and your room steward and your dining staff. All of that is already included. Plus all of the tips of all the drivers, any of your other guides that they might bring in to be the expert in that one area. Again, the guy from Passau, his tip was included. So wine and beer, all of your snacks. They have snacks set out in the afternoon, then they have evening snacks. So all of your meals are included, plus the elevated dining experience. All of your transfers are included. I did not, when I paid, when I did my stateroom sign off at the end of the cruise, it was $10 because of the 2 drinks that we ordered. That's it. That's all I paid extra. Was amazing.
That is incredible. And I love this question we got from, where was it? From Evan. Would you rather do concierge on a Disney cruise or a river cruise with ABD?
I mean, it really kind of depends on your family. We've done both. I mean, so we, we've set up concierge several times. So concierge, again, in terms of the all-inclusive nature, you're still paying for your gratuities. You do get the open bar from 5 to 10 at night, and you get the free popcorn, but you're still paying for your excursion. So if you're looking truly for something that you're like, I'm just all in, then really ABD is the only thing that really offers that. But it offers that concierge experience. But if you're like a diehard ocean cruiser, Disney cruiser, and you just want to keep doing concierge over and over, I have clients that are like that too. So it really kind of depends on the client. I mean, I would do either of those in a heartbeat.
I would say definitely reach out to Stacy. Talk a little bit more about what you like to do on vacation, what your family likes to do on vacation, and she can come up with a custom recommendation just for you. Mm-hmm. And I know you hinted towards another family that you guys kind of really bonded with. So what about interactions with other guests on ABD compared to Disney Cruise Line?
Yeah, so I'd say, the first night of the cruise, Tim and I were like, oh, I think we kind of prefer Disney Cruise Line more. Night 2, we're like, well, this is kind of cool. By night 3, we're like, we knew other families. Nick knew other kids. We were seeking out so a family of five, it's a little bit harder to like partner with another family, but we pre-planned sitting down dinner with another family. And so there was a table that was big enough to hold our family of five, their family of four. And the kids were the girls' age. So that was kind of fun to have these college kids that could talk about their college experiences. And then for lunch on an excursion, we met for a family with kids Nick's age. And so Nick's buddies and the exact same age, and they were twins that were 12-year-old boys. So it was, and you just, because you're in this kind of small, intimate setting, like I knew what people did for a living. I knew where they were from. I knew how many times, and a lot of people had cruised on Disney. I knew how many other adventures by Disney they had done. I know kind of which one was their favorite and why they like Disney Cruise Line so much, and and what they're traveling to do next time. And I met several doctors, several lawyers, another CIO. It's really very intimate experience. It's not like anything I've ever experienced before. And we've been on a land experience, and that's also very intimate. But I think because this was longer than our prior adventure by Disney, the longer together, the more you're like, hey, let's all hang out. So by the last night, I'm just texting people. Like literally, I have their phone numbers. I'm texting them pictures that I took of their kids, because I have a lot of picture of Nick with other kids, and I obviously don't want to share this on this presentation without permission. So I would text them pictures of Nick with their kids, or them doing something like the birthday parties. If I took a picture, I'd text it to people, and so so I think that's what elevated our enjoyment. So the adventure guides and the excursions, hand down, are amazing. But the slow burn overall feel for the Disney Adventures by Disney experience was increasing every night because you got to know more and more people. I guess if that makes any sense.
Yes, it does. Those relationships are even stronger because there's not a million places to go on these ships where you're super spread out. Those relationships, they're intentional. And I know when we were talking about, discussing the Adventure by Disney river cruises, a lot of people just assume that river cruises are for old people, they're for retired people, they're for whoever. But there are options for your young adult couples, for your young adults in the family, your college kids, your younger ones, your married couples.
Right.
Everybody just you're all there because you want to have great service, you want to have a great experience. And that's that common ground. I mean, after that, an ice cream, like what could go wrong, right?
It was amazing. And one thing I do want to point out is every day there was a family that was selected to carry the VIP, to be with the VIP member of the cruise. And they said, we have a very special VIP guest. And it was Minnie. And so we were chosen for the last day. So there we are in Budapest, and we got to have Minnie. But now you have to remember, by now, Nick knows every kid on this cruise ship. And so most pictures are of Nick, Minnie, and a bunch of kids and all throughout Budapest. And again, I didn't want to share that on the presentation, but again, that's what elevates this experience. Is they chose us because they knew it was Tim's birthday. They sang happy birthday to him. 150 people sang happy birthday to him. And then at a separate time, it was a smaller group because we were on a different excursion. So I'd say 60 people sang happy birthday to the girls for their birthday. So they know you, they anticipate your needs. And then they try to really recreate these bonds with the guests. And then again, having that, like I said, with the VIP Mickey, Nick got to carry Mickey around, which then made him more appealing to all the kids and wanted to hang out with Nick all day.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's like the own mayor of the Animal Waterway ship. Love that.
Yeah.
And where was it? Steph is asking, can you remind me where this trip visited?
Oh, sure. I forgot about that. So we started so we flew into Munich, Germany. We all met in the hotel. So the Grand Westin in Munich. Then Adventures by Disney takes your luggage from there and they put it in your stateroom. So you never see your luggage again. And so And then we had 4 buses that all left together from the Westin in Munich. And then we started at a small town outside of Passau, Germany. And then we went into Passau, Melk, Germany, and then Linz and Vienna, Austria. And then we went to Slovakia, the capital of Slovakia, and then we ended in Budapest, Hungary.
Oh, and that sounds incredible, but they do some other river cruises too, right? If maybe that itinerary isn't the top of someone's bucket list, they do other river cruises in Europe.
Yeah, so I'd suggest, I mean, I'd love to talk to you about which one is right for you, but they do Seine, they do Rhine, they do a Christmas market, and they do the Danube. So we were on the Danube, and they do an Oktoberfest. So there's kind of 5 versions of the river cruises that we could look at for you. They do have adult only Adventure by Disney river cruises as well too. And I want to emphasize, when you're on an ABD river cruise, you're only on with ABD guests. You're not on, it's not like they sell 50% of the ship to AMA Waterways and 50% to ABD. So again, when we went, the ship holds 192 people. We were on with 154. So it was, not filled to capacity. Again, having that kind of really nice, intimate experience. The Rhine is supposed to be amazingly beautiful. It just didn't work out with our dates, especially because I was trying to target the birthdays. And Brooke there on the right, she really loves Russian culture and learning. She's learning Russian, so going to the Slovakia, areas brought in a lot of that Russian heritage. So Budapest and Slovakia had that kind of Russian heritage throughout, and that's why we chose this particular one. The Rhine is an amazing one. The Seine, of course, is going to be more of your French market, and then you've got Oktoberfest and winter markets can either be on the Rhine or in the Danube. So depending on which one you choose.
So many good options. And somebody's asking, how was the weather when you were there?
So it was, a friend of mine went on the one 2 weeks before. She was like, it was really hot. And so I didn't pack a lot of longer shirt jackets. It was, it's not Mediterranean weather, which is really hot during the summer. And it's not Northern Europe, which is kind of more dressing like for Alaska. It was, you can see Tim's in a t-shirt and shorts. But for me, I had a lightweight sweatshirt that I always kind of carried with me.
Okay, good to know. Man, so many good options in Europe. Okay, so looking at it, I know you've sailed with Disney Cruise Line, of course. You've sailed on Royal, you've done Celebrity, you've sailed on so many cruise lines. Would you do a river cruise again?
Absolutely, 100%. We're already talking about, so I'm kind of looking, don't tell Nick, but Tim and I are talking about an adult only one. And there's through Adventures by Disney, but there's some wine cruises that AMA Waterways host. And so I'm thinking about renting out like 12 rooms and just having a bunch of our friends go and just drink in the Bordeaux region for 7 nights. But I 100% would do an Adventures by Disney with the kids, but I would probably choose the Rhine as our next experience because there are places that we haven't been to. So, starting in Switzerland and ending in Amsterdam. And so those are places that we've never been. So I think that will be our next trip is already chosen, which is actually next year's Disney Cruise Line going 7 nights to the Greek Isles and then into Naples out of Civitavecchia, Rome. But we're adding on the Adventures by Disney, the 3-night pre-cruise extension. So we're kind of doing the best of both worlds, getting the Adventures by Disney land experience, but then also adding in the DCL cruise. But I think probably for the following year, when the 2027 opens up, we're going to do the Rhine River Cruise.
Oh, love that. Oh my gosh. We have some people saying that they would definitely go on that wine tour with you guys. So it seems like you have a great crowd, right? I know I am right there with all of you. That sounds like a dream. And it seems like your family as a whole really enjoyed this experience. So you can help with Disney cruises, of course. You can help with Adventures by Disney. And we had a question from, I think it was from Amanda asking, can you make payments for Adventures by Disney just like you can for Disney cruises?
Yeah. So, working with me, I offer various payment plans. A lot of my clients have just a set monthly payment, and then I will process the payment on your behalf through Adventures by Disney or Disney Cruise Line. And so we would just kind of work on your payment plan schedule and when you want those payments to come out. I have others, the clients that are just, they might get if they're more kind of commission based, they may get a bigger commission, say, go ahead and put, 2,000 down now, or let's put down, $500 now. So it really just kind of depends on you, but it's an individualized payment plan program. So depending on how you want it to be.
Got it. Okay, good to know. And when do the itineraries open up? It sounds like they're already open for next year. Is it kind of like Disney Cruise Line where it's a batch at a time?
It is. So these opened up, they open up about 18 months ahead of time.
Right.
And so they usually do kind of all of 26 at the same time. So it's not like a rolling, how Disney Cruise Line is, so now we're through, September, and then we'll get kind of October through, probably January of, 26. So it's that rolling basis. They dump a bunch of, kind of the year of 2026 at once. There are some that may come a little bit later, but it's usually not too much later. Right when the itineraries open up, there's usually a little bit of a sale, but there is a great sale going on for anything 2025. So if you have flexibility and you want to so we've got some September sailings. We have still Adventure by Disney sailings for this summer. We also have the Oktoberfest, and then the Christmas market is still available, and those are all on sale.
I've heard the Christmas market one is so much fun. So yes, if you have not planned a vacation for your family for the back half, or forget the family, even if it's just adults only, reach out to Stacy, let her help you plan the trip of your dreams. There's so many options when it comes to traveling with a Disney level experience, and she can help you navigate, with flights, with transfers, with everything, so that you can focus on having the best vacation. Stacy, thank you so much for sharing your trip with us. I need to do Adventures by Disney. I have to do River Cruise. This sounds so perfect. I wish I was eating at the chef's table tonight for dinner.
I know. It was amazing.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh, well, thank you so much again. And we will see all y'all on board real soon. Bye, guys.
All right. Bye.